Hey everyone, and welcome to this podcast recording of Co-Creating with AI. I'm Martin Källström, and with me is Rasmus. How are you today, Rasmus?
I'm very good. I'm a bit hyper. I
Yeah,
stayed up late last night, just reading through the new announcements from OpenAI
yeah, I know,
and
right?
watching the demo and by Sam Altman, and it is nuts. So yeah, I can't talk about anything else today. But I think it's the
Yeah,
most relevant.
definitely.
It's so empowering for like us as AI
Developers.
developers, I
Yes.
guess,
Yeah.
and application builders, but
Hmm.
also, I mean, this just sort of pulls the rug under a lot of big startups out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion, it is going to be nuts. So, before I, go off on a rant, like, what's your do you want to give
Yeah.
your overview, and then I can add in of sort of what's happened and what they've announced.
No, I think like this is a big divisor of the entire world in like either you're holy fuck, I'm gonna do so much more things now with AI thanks to this release by OpenAI, and or you're like holy fuck, my business is in ruins, and that's what the world is waking up to, the world of AI. That is while the rest of the world is oblivious. But of course, um, I also think that it's a driver for the entire industry. And of course, OpenAI was the driver for the entire industry from the start. But um, this is just gonna like propel everything forward, like boost the speed again of everything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, let's dive into it. I feel like it's good to just give an overview for those who haven't stayed up late. We're recording
Yeah.
this on Tuesday morning, day after the OpenAI's first dev day, and I guess just high level, the big things that happened is that first with their like main kind of flagship state of the art model GPT-4, which is what we use in Multiply, highest quality, highest reasoning capabilities. They extended the context window to 128K, and that means it can take in 300 pages of text in one prompt. And so you can give it 299 pages of text and then ask it to summarize them, or ask it to analyze them, or ask it to whatever, right? And this is also, of course, true for feeding it pretty much. I'm not sure how big a normal like code
Mhm.
base is, but you can feed it insane amounts of data. And along with that, they cut prices by a third. No, sorry, to a third. So by 2/3,
Yeah.
by 67%. They made it quicker. It's now called Turbo. It is like a lot quicker. We just implemented it in the product this morning, and it's so much quicker. And then there's a bunch of other things it now can do. It can you can give it images, and it can describe them. It can then of course basically use images that it's generated and generate images similar to them. I played around in ChatGPT this morning and asked it to generate a picture of a giraffe playing a guitar, and then I wanted that guitar playing giraffe to have a hat, and
Yeah.
it can't add the hat on the same image, but it looks so close. So now it's sort of can follow style, and you can actually enforce both. Um, enforce the image gen to follow style, and you can also now
Mm.
force the text generation to follow a specific style in a very clear sense. So those are like just on the GPT-4 level, and then I don't know if I want to run through the list. Maybe we should start there and take them one by one. Otherwise, it's going to be a
Yeah.
rant. And I guess, sorry, just to add on that, now it can also now in the API, you can also um, basically like use a lot of the things that were only available in ChatGPT previously. So such as code interpreter, which means it can, run Python code for you to solve a task.
Mm.
It can call functions, like multiple functions even. So it can, go look up, the weather and across the world, and then look where you should travel that has the best, weather forecast for the next 14 days and lots of other things. It can use retrievals. You can give it a bunch of data, and then that should be used as basis for answering your questions. And what was the last thing? Right, yeah, no, those were the main things
Yeah.
in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, just before we move on to the other things, because this was just one of the announcements. Like, what are your thoughts? What do you think this changes? Who does it affect, etc.?
Yeah. So, and all of those things that you describe are made available through the API now. So, of course, that is hugely empowering for developers. And it's so interesting that the OpenAI has this strategy where they build one of the best AI products out there, but they also give the power of developers of other companies all of that flexibility and versatility and just power of capabilities in the AI models. And so it's you could think that the API business will cannibalize the product business, but it's rather like they are actually pushing the edge. They're pushing the entire industry to move along with innovation faster, thanks to them innovating in product faster. So I think that's a really bold move to have both product and API in the same company. And of course, that's mimicking what the big companies do with like Google and Amazon and so on are really like both huge API and product companies, of course. But there's also like one on a meta level. There's a really significant change in OpenAI here, where they are bold enough to give this a general availability from day one. They've been very like cautiously rolling out features like this in the past, but now it's like available day one for everyone. And so that just is a significant increase in confidence, like it show real show of confidence on OpenAI's part.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it is amazing. I'm not sure like how they think about it, but my guess is that they are like thinking of themselves as a platform company first. And some of the other things we're going to move into and talk about that they announced and made available yesterday sort of speaks to that. But it really feels like they are like ChatGPT is their internal learning engine, 100 million weekly users that they can test with and that
Mm,
they can learn from, and whose data they train their models on. So if you use
mm,
ChatGPT, they actually do that. If you use the API or ChatGPT Enterprise, they don't, which is of course a big reason
mm.
that people want to use any of the other two options. But it is amazing, and I mean, just from our point of view, just in terms of like mentioning the rug pull of it,
Yeah.
we had just started, like we just implemented Claude experimentally. We didn't push it to production, which has 100K context window and is like capable, similar to GPT 3.5, better literary sense in some aspects. It writes better than GPT 3.5, and in some aspects, like actually better than GPT 4 did. But now, I mean, we will just throw that work and
Mm,
just go with GPT 4. And I have like that was their main selling point in terms of like at
mm.
least as far as I know, their kind of reasons for existence. Uh, so it's
How do
quite
you think
quite
about
astounding.
the pricing move? I mean, um, filling up that context window, it's gonna like one single generation is gonna cost like I think it's gonna be like $1.28 just from naturally because it's 1 cent per thousand tokens. So that you fill up the entire context window, that's gonna be a bit over a dollar to generate one zero query, one prompt.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing. I
Mm,
mean, I would actually say that just from our point of view, we actually made two mistakes in not anticipate. Like, even though we were anticipating these trends, I've like talked about it
mm,
repetitively. We didn't act on it, and those two trends are that one, context window will increase, uh, continuously,
mm,
and the ability to use large amounts of data is increasing continuously. But
mm.
we actually invested in compression. So we invested in, like, if we were outside of the context window of GPT-4, we used GPT 3.5, chunked the data, summarized,
Yeah.
etc., did a bunch of things in order for GPT-4 to not, be overwhelmed, so to say, not
Mm,
to get too much data. So it worked. And And that's just something we will probably like. We're not throwing it out because it can still happen,
Yeah.
but it's, it's very unlikely that we will end up in that situation. And the
Mm.
other thing is that, as Sam Altman has, famously said, the cost of intelligence is going to zero.
Mm.
And that's also just like cost optimizing, AI workflows. Of course, you will do that, have to do that in some cases. We spoke about that last time. We bring it in house, but with the cost of these models, like literally, decreasing many times. I'm not sure how to put it, like, but huge percentages a year.
Yeah.
It's
Probably at least a magnitude per year, like 90% cost reduction per year at the
Yeah,
moment. Yeah.
yeah. So then you don't have to care
Yeah.
about that either. You just have
Yeah.
to provide value. So I
Yeah.
think those are the two like biggest things in just simplifying the lives of app developers and empowering more use cases.
Mm. Definitely. And it's so significant that they are um, pushing this out into the wild, while they're also very upfront with their vision, that they're both open about AGI as a vision with their AGI team, and also with that Sam Altman is out talking about how he wants AI to be the new workforce in companies. Like he really wants people to build AI that will be employees of businesses, and that vision resonates so strongly with what you and I believe in, and just like the theme of this podcast, co-creating with AI, and everything that we work for. And it's just that uplifting for the entire industry that they both have that vision, and that they're not afraid of I mean, the rug pulling that you are talking about, where some people are going to see like the past few months of work being surpassed by this release, and that's how it actually should be. Like that's how, if you're not innovating enough, that then you need to be accepting that others going to pass you with the pace that we're in.
Yeah, and it's interesting on like one of the other big kind of announcements that goes with that theme that you described is the assistance API. So I already
Mm,
mentioned basically that you could have GPT-4 Turbo, the new one, use the code interpreter retrieval and function calling.
yeah.
So that's but the interesting is how they do that is you can actually now like literally without code set up an assistant, an agent, as we've talked about before, or at least they call it
Mm,
agents pretty much, and and like specify these are the documents that it should base it on. It should use retrieval to work on those documents. These are the functions externally that it can use, and if you have the need for it to actually write code in order to perform tasks, then you can activate code retrieval, and you can
mm,
have this base prompt for the assistant. And that's kind of the developer version of it, right? So we can, as Multiply, enable users to build assistants or build assistants for users to perform their workflows. But they also launched it in terms of like a consumer facing product called GPTs. So
yeah.
basically custom chat GPTs, which is what I described. It's the same thing. It's just like now you can do it as a consumer or as a developer, and you can publish them. So I can, as just a private person, if I figure out some valuable GPT to build, let's give an example. It should answer legal questions within a specific field and upload all the relevant legal documents.
Mm,
I can literally create that if I have access to the data in like no time at all, like literally a minute. And then I can publish it with a link. And they even launching their GPT store where they will be rev share if people use my app, and then I make money.
mm.
Which is again rug pulling like Poe, who just launched this like
Yeah.
a little while ago.
and
In my
and
experience, maybe
perplexity
they
as
have
well.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's and all of these like I'm not sure how far like character AI and these go, but and Poe as well. There are probably things in there that are valuable on top of
Mm,
this, but it. character AI, in my understanding, like it's like build like chat with Albert Einstein kind of thing,
Mm,
and that's pretty easy now, to just set up.
definitely. Yeah.
Um, so that's a huge kind of democratization of this, and
Mm,
I can really see how they will take their assistants and make them more and more autonomous, so that they can, like we discussed many times before, they can, run autonomously and keep doing things, even if it's not there by default now. Uh, but yeah, do you have any thoughts on like assistants and agents and what happens here?
yeah. So I think one future that I envision is that just like companies are expected to have a homepage and be found on the web. I think that it's going to be natural for businesses to have AIs to that are knowledge in everything they do, and which they have are given public access to, so you can chat about the company with an AI, because that's something that you want to control as a company. Like what is the state of the art AI on your own company? What does it know about your own company? Like if you don't create that, someone else might create that for you, and you are not in control of what that AI knows and says, and what material it's working from. So and that also opens up for a future where these agents talk to each other, and like I think that now with the retrieval, that that's not necessary anymore. Like we see that AI GPT-4 and other AIs with web retrieval can of course query web pages, but when they do bring it in really into structured format, that we see the power of, for example, find as a and which has a huge database to work from, and that's just going to grow with OpenAI's move now, where assistants are going to have really big, structured, high quality data stores, and that's going to provide so much more value than just a random, like uncontrollable web retrieval, which quite often uh, does not generate any high quality results.
Yeah, can you
So
just like for the listener as well, like what is find? Just a reminder.
yeah, find is uh, find.com, Phind, is a code assistant. So it's basically a very like high profile project where the founders have been fine tuning models for the past 3 4 years, and have done a really good work on fine tuning a model on both coding, producing code, and looking up information from uh, the documentation of hundreds of thousands of open source products projects. So what they can do is that they can assist you. They can, if you have a problem as a developer, find.com will provide the answer for you in 15 seconds, and both with information from documentation and from like example code. Here's how to solve this problem. So it's an advanced assistant, and that's just going to explode. It's an example of if you really put energy into creating an assistant, what can you achieve? And I think that's just going to explode now with that being available for so many more people.
Yeah, and I think like one thing to pick out in what you said is like on the data side. So one thing, like apart from like I think maybe pulling the rug on like Poe from a consumer angle, like Poe's a consumer product basically. Like a chat bot that can access different models, and then you could build bots, and they have just launched a marketplace, etc. But there's also like a lot of services where you can build your kind of custom GPTs, which is based on these documents, et cetera, very easily. And all of that is now provided by OpenAI, and with more power and easier use. But it's also interesting, like in terms of say, so a lot of people have been using say make.com to build like AI workflows. If this happens there here in this system, then do this and send the call to OpenAI, and then send it here to some other system. So it retrieves data, it performs some kind of AI action, and then does some like AI generation, and then does some other action. And And then it's SAPs inside Zapier, which is kind of similar.
Mm.
um, and it's just interesting now. Will that will just be done by function calling inside the assistants? So instead of doing anything like that, I just connect my systems through function calling, and that's of course like and I think like in make.com and especially Zapier, which seems to be closely connected to OpenAI, will still have a role there by being the connecting glue. Like you connect Zapier
Yeah,
and then
because
you can
they
use
have the
Zapier to
functions. They are
yeah
really big function libraries now for AI
yeah
to use. Yeah.
but like in terms of like doing the actual kind of automation of like are their in-house kind of workflows going to be relevant, or just like
Mm.
commoditized and then like a huge power for the assistants, the GPTs and
Mm.
chat GPT. But anyhow, whatever happens with them, I think it's quite amazing how that now feeds into the ability to make AI useful.
Yeah. And then they also, OpenAI, that is, they launched this text to speech interface, which is new for them. It's been in use in their GPT-4 mobile app, or GPT mobile app, and it's just an amazing text to speech engine with two modes: one fast, which is faster than 11 Labs, which is the market leader on text to speech, and one high quality mode, which is then higher quality than 11 Labs high quality mode, at a cost that is like 1/10 of the market leader. So, what are your impressions from that and from the demo that they showed?
No, but I think it's pretty interesting. So what they have now is they had the Whisper, which is audio to text. So you could like it
Mm.
could listen to a transcript and transcribe it, for example. Sorry, listen to a recording of this podcast and transcribe it. And now they also have the ability of then with text to speech of going the other way. And the demo they showed is just combining those two, where the guy demoing spoke to ChatGPT or to this little app that he built. It transcribed it with Whisper directly, and then text to speech, the other API, then answered back on what he said, and it was
Mhm.
quick. It was so quick, and it was such high quality of voice. And right
Mm.
now they're providing like 6 voices, but that's going to be able. You're going to be able to train your own on your own voice within a year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And that unlocks so many things we talked about before. So I think that's like, I mean, we talked about that before as like, sound being like a primary interface. We speak faster than we write, most of us. We speak more naturally than we write, most of us. And
Mm.
we can do it on the fly, whereas, riding a bike and texting, or driving a car and texting is generally not advisable. So I think it's more there, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I think it's quite amazing, just like really making audio, like speaking. I want to say speaking
Mm.
like an interface.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, after
Mm.
the partial success of Siri, etc., and Alexa
Mm.
and those things.
Yeah. And they're providing strong building blocks for that, which is just going to enable so many more app developers to build speech interfaces into their products. So it's a really strong offering, and it's perfectly in line with their vision to create to make AI part of the everyday workforce in companies, because the AI needs to be able to be there in the meeting room. It can't be a chatbot on the screen if it's going to be a true participant in your company.
Yeah, and it's also like there's a bunch of things behind there with the I guess with the way they've sort of structured assistants now with threads and messages, which means that
Mm.
it's much easier for, let's just call it OpenAI, like even if you're calling different
Mm.
APIs that they have, like to recall specifically what you've been talking about and what you're working on,
Yeah.
and therefore it can be much more relevant in conversation over
Mm.
time and in work over time. And I like this has been possible. You just had to sort of do a lot of the work yourselves as developers, but now it's much more seamless. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I'm quite excited for that one as well. Just I haven't been playing with actually the ChatGPT voice app much, but like the using voice. But I'm quite excited now that it can speak back, because speaking into it, or maybe it could do that actually. Could
Yeah,
it
you could.
already?
Yes.
It could
Yeah.
already.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it's just me
Yeah.
being behind the curve on that one.
Mm.
But I'm quite excited to try it now that I saw like how well it works.
Mm. No, it's really solid. The lag is like not very perceptible, and it's covered by this smooth animation where you can see that it's thinking. Like the state is very clear, the community in a very clear way that allows the user to feel that you are in a flowy conversation with the AI.
Yeah, and it's like where's going to go with this? I think like with the ability to speak, it can become so much more ambient, like we
Yeah.
talked about before, in your life, and it can do a lot of things, right? That so previously it was a chatbot, right? And if you use it to communicate in text, you can do it via computer, basically. Okay, it could call the function to send text messages, etc. Right? So that's
Mm.
one way we communicate with each other. But now it just struck into audio, so it can call people. And there we really go back to kind of the Google assistant kind of demo from a few years back, when it calls your hairdresser and books a meeting. And I
Yeah.
think that really allows it to be much more human, right? It can interact with one more way. And of
Yeah.
course, that's kind of going another track, but say like Optimus with Tesla and some other companies working on, you know, human style robots, that's allowing it to interface in the real
Mm.
world like a human in a world that's built for humans. And I think this is one example of that. This is like, we already have systems for communicating via voice,
Mm. Definitely.
this podcast recording, Zoom calls, telephone, and now AI is there. So
Yeah.
it is like bigger than you initially think about, and it's cute to be able to talk with it. Well, now it's like much more integrated into our
It
world.
is huge. Yeah. Definitely.
Uh,
And
and the last
and
thing,
they,
right?
yeah, so and they are also like very clear in the API documentation that you have to disclose to the human you're talking to that it's an AI talking.
Okay,
So that's, yeah, and perhaps that's going to be the last remnant for like of a uniqueness for competitors, that they allow like more gray area usage.
that's probably going to be what Twitter does, right? Or X.AI. Like they released their Grok model the other day, which has up to date information about Twitter,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
is unfiltered. So it
Yeah.
doesn't say like, it doesn't avoid, and it's more like humorous and kind of based.
Mm.
And so I think, yeah, I mean, probably like a reasonable assumption is that when they go the audio route, they will
Mm.
not say that. It will just be like they will avoid these things. But yeah, I think it's a very thin layer of protection though. And
Yeah.
maybe people want it, right? I think there's a lot of like legal kind of discussions around watermarking AI content, like in the latest executive order in the
Mm.
US by Biden, which we could talk a lot about, but other people who are much more knowledgeable. But yeah, I think it's big.
Mm.
Mm. And then not to forget images, right? So there's
Yeah,
new
and
API there as
DALL-E
well.
3 got a boost as well, more available and with an API, and thus giraffes with or without hats on command.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's
Mhm.
also like quite a big thing, because it was already like available to ChatGPT Plus
Yeah.
users, so you can like chat and then it will generate an image, and then you can iterate on the image. They have this cute hedgehog video, that demo that they've shown, where you generate like a hedgehog for a children's book, and then him doing different things. But I really think that in terms of like ease of use for image generation, now that it's like ChatGPT and these, the products that are built on it, such as
Mm.
ours, will, be even more seamlessly and integrated, multimodal, like both
Mm.
text and audio and speech. such a simplicity to it. Instead of going to say, I mean, Midjourney probably still has a lead on like image quality, but instead of going there and working on it, if you can just like have the best um, general kind of language model,
Mm.
GPT-4, working with you to generate images, and now it can retain style, it can do a lot of things much better.
Mm.
Easily available. I think they are going to get a huge. They are going to make a huge catch up in terms of being probably the dominant player in
Yeah.
image gen, which they have sort of put on the back. I mean, apparently not on the back burner, but they haven't
Yeah.
been caught up with for a while.
And then
So I'm
then
very excited for that.
there's also the opposite side of image generation, which is vision, and they allow developers to leverage GPT-4 vision as well, and that's going to be also opening up a big new area for use cases. For example, if you build a coding agent, which a lot of people do, allowing GPT-4 to code for you. If it's coding a web page or an interface, it can now basically look at the result and see, is this what I expected, and then change the code and iterate on the code by itself until it's happy with what it's with the output, with the visual output
Yeah,
of the code.
yeah, that's nuts. And yeah, I mean, just like other examples, just in terms of like asset multiply.
Mm.
I mean, helping different target groups, but primarily like marketing professionals. Generate different types of content that they can now, like, or we can very soon, like input an image, have the style analyzed, and then generate
Mm.
other images in that style, even if it's not direct image to image yet. Like give it an image and get
Mm.
add something to it, which will, I'd say it's probably here within a year, given the space. But that's huge, for
Mm.
both like in-house marketing teams that we work with and for marketing agencies working on behalf of
Yeah.
their clients. So it's yeah, I mean it's it's pretty mind blowing morning actually
Yeah.
for me in terms of like looking at how we reprioritize our product roadmap.
Mm. Do you have any closing thoughts before we round off?
No, that was probably it. I feel like
Yeah.
I've been hyper and overexcited anyhow. So enough
Amazing.
words from me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rasmus. Thanks you to our listener as well. And this has been a fun episode of co-creating with AI. And see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin. Bye.
Thank you.